Hello and welcome back to Russ's Movie Corner. My name is Russ, and as you can see, I am sitting in front of my movie corner. I have my God the Father t-shirt on, my Son of God movie right next to me, and judging by the frame around me, we are back, taking down Brent Wessels' Bible verses for Flat Earth spreadsheet. When last we left off, we had kind of talked about the firmament, foundations of heaven stuff, because it doesn't really talk a lot about that, but we kind of went through and talked a little bit more about some of that stuff. Today we're on to the sun, moon, and stars are lights in the firmament / heaven. Again, he is using the notion that the firmament is like some magical dome in the sky that either A, contains the sun or doesn't contain the sun, maybe contains the moon, maybe doesn't contain the moon, but that the dome just has little pinpricks in it, and magically some light is coming through that, and that's what we can see. Even though we have telescopes up there that can photograph distant objects in the universe. Because obviously he doesn't subscribe to the whole Bible, he just subscribes to the parts that make his version of the Bible look good. So, we're going to jump back in and okay. So this is just after the third day. So this is the first day. Fourth day, I mean. I'm just going to read all of these. Okay. And then I'm going to read again what the firmament actually is. Okay. I read in the previous one to this what it was in the King James, which it basically said arch, sky, that kind of stuff. Because that's what they're talking about. It's not talking about a dome. Okay? Where they get that from is one of the translations that somebody came up with at one point was a dome, but that's because what does the sky look like when you're out in the middle of nowhere and it's, either really sunny or, whatever, and you look at the sky, what does it look like from your vantage point? It kind of looks like a dome, okay? But that doesn't mean that the sky itself is a dome. As stated before, under Kent Hovind's theory, and that's his theory again, he says that there's a 3-finger-thick canopy of ice all the way around the world at the time of creation. And that's, he uses, in verse 5 of Genesis 1, says, "And God said, let there be an expanse between the waters to separate water from water." So God made the expanse to separate the water under the expanse from the water above it. And it was so. God called the expanse sky. And there was evening and there was morning the second day. Now, we're going to skip on down to 14. God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark the seasons and days and years. And let them be lights in the expanse of the sky to give light on the earth." And it was so. God made 2 great lights, the greater light to govern the day, and the lesser light to govern the night. He also made the stars. He set them in the expanse of the sky to give light on the earth, to govern the day and the night, to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good, and there was evening and there was morning the 4th day. So, what I want to ask is that, because this kind of dovetails in with this one right here. Because this is something that a lot of these really, really strange flat earthers do. They say, oh, the moon has its own light. Okay? How come there's shadows on the moon? How come the moon has phases? Because how do we tell what months are? How did we ever get a calendar? It's right here. It's not because of the rotation of the earth. It's not because of the sun giving us light most of the time. Okay? It has to do with the moon. That's right. Most calendars are built around the lunar month, which is 28 days. So, explain that one to me, flurfers. Come on now. Explain that one to me. Now, again, this expanse is Rakia, expanse of the sky or heaven, the space above the earth that holds visible objects, clouds, planets, stars. Expanse, heavens, skies. So, sorry, buddy. That totally debunks your notion of a dome. Because most people understand that it's not about a dome. It's not a dome. Okay? And yeah, as stated before, there's 3 heavens. Okay? There's the first heaven, which is where the birds fly. It's called, what's that again? Oh, that's right, air. Then there's the second heaven, which is where the sun, moon, and stars and planets are. And then there's the third heaven where God resides. Because as stated before, Paul gets caught up to the third heaven where he sees God. Okay? Sorry, buddy. That totally debunks your notion. Okay? Now, as to this notion that the moon gives off its own light, nowhere in the Bible does it say that. Okay? Because while he's saying the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night, what is that lesser light? It's sunlight reflecting off the moon. Every single thing in this world reflects light. That's how we see color. Okay? That's how we know where things are. That's how we know the planets like Jupiter and Saturn and Neptune and Pluto, because they all reflect light, some more than others. I've actually observed Pluto for myself. Or not Pluto, but Jupiter for myself. Not Pluto. You have to have a really powerful telescope to see Pluto. And the telescope I used, you couldn't see that. You could see Saturn, you could see Jupiter, and on really clear nights, you could see Mars pretty well, if it was in the right spot. Okay? But Isaiah 30:26. Let's go there really quick. I'm going to start in verse 19 of Isaiah 30. O people of Zion, who live in Jerusalem, you will weep no more. How gracious he will be when you cry for help. As soon as he hears, he will answer you. Although the Lord gives you bread for adversity and the water of affliction, your teachers will be hidden no more. And with your own eyes you will see them. Whether you will turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, This is the way, walk in it. Then you will defile your idols overlaid with silver and your images covered with gold, and you will throw them away like a menstrual cloth and say to them, Away with you. He will also send you rain for the seed you sow in the ground, and the food that comes from the land will be rich and plentiful. In that day your cattle will graze in broad meadows. The oxen and donkey that work the soil will eat fodder and mash, spread out with a fork and shovel. In the days of great slaughter, when the towers fall, streams of water will flow on every high mountain and every lofty hill. The moon will shine like the sun, and the sunlight will be 7 times brighter, like the light of 7 full days, when the Lord binds up the bruises of his people and heals the wounds he inflicted. Okay, so what is he saying there? Where are they when this happens? Isn't this about when they're going to be taken off to Babylon? Okay? So what is he saying there? When your time of affliction is done, right? That the moonlight will seem as bright as the sun, and the sun shall be like the light of 7 days. It's a metaphor. It's going to say that the lights are going to seem new and bright because what? When the Lord binds up the bruises of his people and heals the wounds he inflicted. He's going to heal the people, and the days are going to seem brighter. The nights are going to seem brighter because the people are going to be healed. That's what he's saying there. He's not saying that the moonlight that is given off is as bright as the sun, or that it's actually giving off its own light. Are you an idiot? Yes, you are. $31.35. Because why not? Let's go to another prophetic book. Why don't we? Yeah. You gotta love it. People don't even... Okay, I'm going to start in verse 30. Instead, everyone will die for his own sin. Whoever eats sour grapes, his own teeth will be set on edge. The time is coming, declares the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. It will not be like the covenant I made with their forefathers when I took them by hand and led them out of Egypt, because they broke my covenant, though I was a husband to them, declares the Lord. This covenant I will make with the house of Israel after that time, declares the Lord. I will put my law in their minds and write it on their hearts. I will be their God, and they will be my people. No longer will a man teach his neighbor, or a man his brother, saying, Know the Lord, because they will know me, from the least of them to the greatest, declares the Lord. For I will forgive their wickedness and remember their sins no more. This is what the Lord said. He who appoints the sun to shine by day, who decrees the moon and stars to shine by night, who stirs up the sea so that its waves roar, the Lord Almighty is his name. Only if these decrees vanish from my sight, declares the Lord, will the descendants of Israel ever cease to be a nation before me. This is what the Lord says. Only if the heavens above can be measured and the foundations of the earth below be searched out, will I reject the descendants of Israel because of all they have done, declares the Lord. So what is that passage saying there again? Oh, that's right. That the Lord put the moon and the sun there. And the stars in the sky. In space. Yeah. That's all it's saying. I mean, have you ever been out on a really dark night, like go out in the middle of nowhere where there is absolutely no light? Okay, like no light pollution whatsoever, and then you go out and like sit on the hood of your car, lean up against your windshield, and look up at the stars in the sky. And if there's like a full moon, like it's almost like daytime sometimes because it seems so bright. But it's not daytime, is it? It's still nighttime, and the light of the moon that reflects from the sun to the earth doesn't give us the same brightness as daytime, does it? In fact, it doesn't even give us like it is when it's overcast. Wonder why that is. Probably because the moon isn't giving off any light, is it? Because again, explain to me how the moon has shadows on it. And why it goes through phases if it's giving off its own light. Oh, that's right, it's not. Because it's reflecting the light of the sun. Because no matter where it is in the sky, whenever you see it at night, the sun is always reflecting off of it. When it's facing the sun. No matter what. Duh. Ay, ay, ay. Mark 13, I think. Oh, yeah, because let's go to more prophetic passages. Ah! Yeah, because let's get something that Jesus is quoting from Isaiah. You know, the same verse that is literally being quoted in that one. Literally. But in those days, following that distress, talking about the abomination that causes desolation, okay, literally, in verse 14, when you see the abomination that causes desolation standing where it does not belong, literally, he, also in verse 29, you know, in verse 21, at that time, if anyone says to you, look, here is the Christ, or look, there he is, do not believe it. For false Christs and false prophets will appear and perform signs and miracles to deceive the elect, if that were possible. So be on your guard, I have told you everything ahead of time. But in those days, following that distress, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. At that time, men will see the Son of Man coming in clouds with great power and glory. He will send the angels to gather his elect from the four winds, from the ends of the earth to the ends of the heavens. And so, going back to Isaiah, which is a prophecy against Babylon. Gee, what was Babylon again? Oh, that's right, the great prostitute of the end times in Revelation. Oh, oops, looks like we found an end times prophecy that this guy doesn't even understand because he's an idiot. Listen, a noise on the mountains like that of a great multitude. Listen, an uproar among the kingdoms, like nations massing together. The Lord Almighty is mustering an army for war. They come from faraway lands, from the ends of the heavens. The Lord and the weapons of his wrath will destroy the whole country. Wail, for the day the Lord is near. The day of the Lord is near. It will come like destruction from the Almighty. Because of this, all hands will go limp. Every man's heart will melt. Terror will seize them. Pain and anguish will grip them. They will writhe like a woman in labor. They will look again aghast at each other, their faces aflame. See, the day of the Lord is coming, a cruel day with wrath and fierce anger to make the land desolate, and destroy the sinners within it. The stars of heavens and their constellations will not show their light. The rising sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. Well, gee, why won't the moon give its light? Oh, I think that's probably answered in the previous part of that verse. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. Gee, if the sun goes out, will there be any light to reflect off the moon? No. Are you an idiot? Yes. The answer is yes. Okay, Isaiah 16, 19, and 20. Or 60, sorry. Because why not? All right. Starting in verse 16. You will drink the milk of nations and be nursed at royal breasts. Then you will know that I, the Lord, am your Savior, your Redeemer, the Mighty One of Jacob. Instead of bronze I will bring you gold, and silver in place of iron. Instead of wood I will bring you bronze, and iron in place of stones. I will make peace your governor, and righteousness your ruler. No longer will violence be heard in your land, nor ruin your destruction within your borders. But you will call your walls salvation and your gates praise. The sun will no more be your light by day, nor will the brightness of the moon shine on you. For the Lord will be your everlasting light, and your God will be your glory. Your sun will never set again, and your moon will wane no more. For the Lord will be your everlasting light, and your days of sorrow will end. Then will all your people be righteous, and they will possess the land forever. They are the shoot I have planted, the work of my hands, for the display of my splendor. The least of you will become 1,000, the smallest a mighty nation. I am the Lord. In its time I will do this swiftly. So what is he saying there? What is he doing? Oh, that's right. He's restoring Israel. So why doesn't the moon need to give its light? Because the Lord does. Oh, and don't we see that in Revelation? Because he put it twice. Because again, he doesn't understand that he put the same damn verse twice. Because he's an idiot. Again. I did not see a temple in the city because the Lord Almighty and the Lamb are its temple. The city does not need the sun or the moon to shine on it, for the glory of God gives it light, and the Lamb is its lamp. The nations will walk by its light, and the kings of the earth will bring their splendor into it. On no day will its gates ever be shut, for there will be no night there. The glory and honor of the nations will be brought into it. Nothing impure will ever enter it, nor will anyone who does what is shameful or deceitful, but only those whose names are written in the Lamb's book of life. So, again, what is going on there? It's the same thing as verse 60. They're literally end times prophecies, folks. Why doesn't the moon need to reflect the light of the sun? Why does the sun need to not shine in the city? Because the Lord will be in it, and his light will give light to it. Are you that much of an ignoramus? Yes. The answer is yes. You are an ignoramus if you think that for some odd reason, the rules of the Bible don't apply to you because you can just select a passage and throw it in somewhere. And it's the same thing with Matthew 24:29. It is literally the same passage as Mark 13. Why? Because I literally just read this in my Christy Burke video. Because he's literally quoting from the exact same text. Isaiah 13:10 and 34:4. He is literally Mark and Matthew, okay, are using the same exact texts to give you what Jesus is talking about there. And it's literally the Isaiah 13:10 from space 467. Why does it no longer need to shine? Why does the sun and the moon no longer need to give their light? Because God does. It's an end times prophecy, folks. It's literally the same thing as Revelation. And you'd have to be a complete ignoramus not to understand that. Oh gee, it looks like Ezekiel 32:7 is probably going to be the exact same thing. Starting in verse 3. This is what the sovereign Lord says. With a great throng of people I will cast my net over you. They will haul you up in my net. I will throw you on the land, and hurl you on the open field. I will let all the birds of the air settle on you, and the beasts of the earth gorge themselves on you. I will spread your flesh on the mountains, and fill the valleys with your remains. I will drench the land with your flowing blood all the way to the mountains, and the ravines will be filled with your flesh. When I snuff you out, I will cover the heavens and darken their stars. I will cover the sun with a cloud, and the moon will not give its light. All the shining lights in the heavens I will darken over you. I will bring darkness over your land, declares the sovereign Lord. Oh, who's he talking about? Oh, a lament for Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Again, let's use a prophetic book to say that the moon somehow magically gives its own light, even though we can see shadows on its surface. The moon doesn't have its own light, son. Because what is he saying there? I'm going to cover up the sun with a cloud, and the moon will not give its light. What is he saying there? I'm going to cover up the sun, and because there's going to be clouds in that day, and the moon and the sun is not going to be giving its light, neither is the moon. Why? Because there's a cloud in the sky. Did you not even read these verses before you put them there? Are you that much of an idiot? Yes. The answer is yes. Okay? Starting in verse 35, 1 Corinthians 15. But someone may ask, how are the dead raised? With what kind of body will they come? How foolish! What you sow does not come to life unless it dies. When you sow, you do not plant the body that will be just a seed, but perhaps of wheat or of something else. But when God gives it a body he has determined, and to each kind of seed he gives its own body. All flesh is not the same. Men have one kind of flesh, animals have another, birds have another, fish another. There are also heavenly bodies, and there are earthly bodies. But the splendor of the heavenly bodies is one kind, and the splendor of the earthly bodies is another. The sun has one kind of splendor, the moon another, and the stars another. The stars differ from star differs from star in splendor. So will it be with the resurrection of the dead. The body that is sown is perishable, it is raised imperishable. It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. It is sown a natural body, it is raised in a spiritual body. If there is a natural body, there is also a spiritual body. So it is written, the first man, Adam, became a living being, the last Adam, the life-giving spirit. The spiritual did not come first, but the natural, and after that the spiritual. The first man was of the dust of the earth, the second man from heaven. As was the earthly man, so are those of the earth as the man from heaven. And just as we have borne the likeness of the earthly man, so we shall bear the likeness of the man from heaven. So what does he say there in verse 41? Oh, the sun has one kind of splendor, the moon another, and the stars another. He's not talking about the moon having a light. He's talking about it being a different kind of splendor from the sun, from the stars, from the planets. Everything has a different splendor. That has nothing to do with the moon giving off light, you moron. I'm dead serious. Okay? This guy has to be some kind of an ignorant fool not to understand that this has nothing to do with the moon having its own light. He's talking about us having spiritual bodies inside of us that are going to look differently from our earthly bodies. When we go to heaven, when we're resurrected into heaven, our bodies are going to look completely different than what you see sitting in front of you every time you look in the mirror. When you look in the mirror in heaven, you're going to see a totally different body from that you saw on earth. That's what he's talking about. Because he's using this as an analogy. He's saying, look, the sun has a certain type of glory because the Lord made it a certain way, and the moon has a different type of glory. The different stars have a different type of glory. In fact, we have found that different stars, some are big, some are small, some have exploded, some are, whatever. It doesn't matter. The planets are different. That's what he's talking about here. Are you stupid? Can you not even read what you're putting in this document? If you cannot read it, then I weep for our generation, okay, and the generations that come after, because this kind of crap is the reason why we have atheists laughing at Christians. Because they think we're all just a bunch of ignorant, foolish hicks, okay? They think we're a bunch of country bumpkins that don't know jack squat. That we just look out and go, oh, the earth looks flat, so it must be flat like a disc. Are you an idiot? Yes, the answer is yes. If you were like, oh yeah, the earth is totally flat. No, it's not. And stop it. Okay? This needs to stop. This kind of crap is stupid. Now, these two passages are linked. So I'm going to do them all at once because we've done this one before because this guy's an idiot. Okay? Because he literally did this like a little while ago. Probably like 10 flippin' videos at this point. So, in the first part of Matthew 16, okay, starting in verse 1, going through verse 4. The Pharisees and Sadducees came to Jesus and tested him by asking him to show them a sign from heaven. He replied, "When evening comes, you say it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning, today it will be stormy, for the sky is red and overcast. You know how to interpret the appearance of the sky, but you cannot interpret the signs of the times. A wicked and adulterous generation looks for a miraculous sign, but none will be given except the sign of Jonah." Then Jesus left them and went away. Again, same damn verse, okay? Same story, okay? Literally, Luke 12, starting in verse 54 through verse 59, basically the end of the passage, okay? Starting in verse 54 of Luke 12. He said to the crowd, "When you see a cloud rising in the west, immediately you say it's going to rain, and it does. And when the south wind blows, you say it's going to be hot, and it is. Hypocrites, you know how to interpret the appearance of the earth and the sky. How is it that you don't know how to interpret this present time? Why don't you judge for yourselves what is right? As you are going with your adversary to the magistrate, try hard to be reconciled to him on the way, or he may drag you off to the judge, and the judge turn you over to the officer, and the officer throw you in prison. I tell you, you will not get out until you have paid every last penny." What is Jesus talking about there? Well, he's talking about them demanding a sign from him. What is that sign? Oh, gee, I don't know. Maybe it's just a sign that talks about, well, they just wanted something to do that. And what does Jesus say? Oh, that's right. That's right. He says, when you look at the sky, okay, you can see what it's doing, right? And then what does he say? But you can't discern the sign of the time, or the signs of the times. Okay? This is literally the same exact word in the Greek. Okay? 47:25. Prosopon. Face, a part of the body, by extension in someone's presence, sight. Before, in front of, on the surface of. Face, faces, ahead, presence, appearance. 2. Pay attention who they are. With 476 and 1063. Sight. You plus 3836 plus 5148. Before plus 608. Before plus 2848. Before plus 4574. Blindfolded 3836 4328. Can see it plus 1711. Faced, face down, flatter, in person, presence. It's judged by external appearance, met personally, on ahead, personally, resolutely, seen, show partiality, surface, through himself, when face to face, untranslated, 9. So what is it saying there? Okay, they translated it the face of the sky, but what does that mean? On the surface of. What is Jesus talking about in that passage? When you look at the sky at night, you say, ooh, the sky looks red. It might rain. Or you look at the sky and you say, wow, this might do. Or in the case of Luke, he says, when you see, like clouds, you say it might rain. Or when you feel the wind, the south wind, you go, oh, it's going to, change. And that's why he's talking about the face of the sky and of the earth. He's saying, do you not understand that you can predict certain weather patterns when you look at things, when you look at the appearance of the sky, or the face of the sky? That's literally what they're saying. I mean, dude, this isn't even talking about stars. What the hell are you talking about, dude? This passage. Look, we literally just talked about this passage. And look at what he says here. In 478, sun is a light luminary, whatever the fuck that means, and stars are not suns. What? What is the sun, then? If not a star, you moron! I mean, are you... Dude! He is not talking about the sun being some miraculous, like, God. Are you that much of an ignoramus? Yes. The answer is yes. There is no fucking reason for this to exist. None whatsoever. This verse is not talking about the sun being some magical angel in the sky giving off light, or Jesus in the sky giving off his own light. This is not talking about that. Paul is using this, he's using this passage to literally say it's not even about what you think it is, dude. Because he's using this as talking about it's an allegorical passage to talk about the people, the literal people. Verse 40, there are also heavenly bodies and there are earthly bodies. But the splendor of the heavenly bodies is one kind, and the splendor of the earthly bodies is another. The sun has one kind of splendor, the moon another, and the stars another, and a star and star differs from star in splendor. What is the sun? It is a star. The light that it gives off is caused by nuclear fusion. And every single light in the sky, as we have seen with every single telescope around the world, okay, that people have used since telescopes were invented by Galileo, Galilei, who was a Christian, by the way, to observe these distant objects, we found that some of them go boo. And he's saying they're different. Just like we will be different when we get resurrected. It's an allegorical statement. Because the same word could be said, okay, when we look at, let me grab it here. Come on. Come on. I'm just using this one as an example. But Psalms 19:1. The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. Day after day they pour forth speech. Night after night they display knowledge. There is no speech or language where their voice is not heard. Their voice goes out into all the earth, their words to the ends of the world. In the heavens he has pitched a tent for the sun, which is like a bridegroom coming forth from his pavilion, like a champion rejoicing to run his course. It rises at one end of the heavens and makes its circuit to the other. Nothing is hidden from its heat. Gee, that sounds like a day, when it heats up during the day. Wow, gee, I wonder. Sun? Dude, Stop. Enough is enough. This kind of crap is why I'm doing this. And it's why I'm so angry, because you're perverting this book into something it's not. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because again, let's take a prophetic book about the New Jerusalem and say, oh yeah, that's totally because the earth is flat. Because if I can stand in one spot in, like, say, New York City and see blocks upon blocks upon blocks of gigantic buildings, okay, with mostly flat foundations, because I can't measure the curve of the earth with my eyeballs, let's look at this thing and go, oh my gosh! Because, yeah, 1,400 miles. How big is the diameter of the earth again? Oh, that's right, 15,000. So 1,400 out of 15,000. Well, let me see here. Let me do a quick calculation. Oh, that's right. That's only 0.1 degree. 0.1 degree, son! That's not even a full degree around the earth. At that point, it doesn't need to have a huge curvature, because you can't tell the curve at that point. It's very slight. Son, think about it. Literally, 1,400 divided by 15,000 is 0.093333 repeating. Oh, that's right, because we round up. That's why I said 0.1 degrees. That means out of 360 degrees, okay, we have 0.1 of that. Which, if we scaled the Earth to the size of this stress ball, okay, you're talking like less than a millimeter on the surface of this thing. Because this is 360 degrees, son. Think about it. The diameter is 15,000. And you're talking 1,400 out of 15,000. Honestly? Yeah. I mean, that's like... from here, from where I live, in Washington State, to about Kansas. Not counting the mountains. And some people are going to go, oh, but, there's so much of a curve. Yes, there is. But God never said the base was flat. He just said take a rod and measure it. And what did he measure? He measured the city with a rod and found it to be 1,200 stadia in length. Or 12,000 stadia in length. And as wide and high as it is long. He measured its wall and it was 144 cubits thick by man's measurements, which the angel was using. Yes. It's going to be a big city. Because how many people need to live in it? All those in the Lamb's Book of Life? All those that absolutely believe in Jesus and know His Word? Not going to be this guy. Because he obviously doesn't know Jesus. He doesn't know His Word. Huh? Okay, literally, we just read this. Son, that's not what it says. Do you know who they are? Do you know who their line is? Obviously you don't. Because you didn't read this beforehand. The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of His hands. Day after day they pour forth speech. Night after night they display knowledge. There is no speech or language where their voice is not heard. What is their voice? Now, I've mentioned this before. What happens when we point a radio telescope at any point in the sky? What do we hear? Noise. No matter what. And it doesn't matter where on earth you are, when you point a telescope at stars, they talk to you. Oh no! It looks like this guy doesn't understand that it doesn't matter if you say in a line, because how many lines can you have in a ray? How many rays of the sun come out? The sun is giving off light because it is a sphere, like us. It's giving out light in all directions. Okay? And it's also giving out electromagnetic radiation that is being sent out in all directions, including to us. And we can measure that. That's what we get when we point radio telescopes. We're measuring the electromagnetic radiation of stars. That's their voice, by the way. This isn't creation, okay? This is God's created stuff declaring the glory of God. It says their voice goes out into all the earth, their words unto the ends of the world in verse 4. So, let's look it up. Voice. Because again, this comes from the Latin. The translation that he's using comes from the Latin Vulgate. T-U-V-W. Voice. Alrighty. Psalms 19:4, 77:54. 77:54. Which is, it's literally the same as in Proverbs 5:3. In the morning, O Lord, you hear my voice. 18:6, from His temple he heard my voice. 18:13, the voice of the Most High resounded. 19:3, or language where their voice is not heard. 19:4, their voice goes out into all the earth. 27:7, hear my voice when I call, O Lord. 29:3, 4, 5, 7, 8, and 9, where it talks about the voice of the Lord. 46:6, he lifts his voice, the earth melts. 55:3, at the voice of the enemy, he stares at the stairs of, and then goes on. 55:17, and he hears my voice. 64:1, hear me, O God, as I voice my complaint. 66:19, surely listen and heard my voice in prayer. 68:33, who thunders with mighty voice. 93:3, O Lord, the seas have lifted up their voice. 95:7, today if you hear his voice. And 116:1, I love the Lord, for he heard my voice. 119:149, hear my voice in accordance with your love. 130 verse 2, O Lord, hear my voice. 141:1, hear my voice when I call you to you. 142:1, I lift up my voice to the Lord for mercy. Proverbs 1:20, she raises her voice in public squares. 8:1, does not understanding raise her voice. 8:4, I raise my voice to all mankind. Song of Solomon 2:14, show me your face, let me hear your voice. For your voice is sweet and your face is lovely. 8:13, let me hear your voice. Isaiah 6:8, then I heard the voice of the Lord saying. Literally all of these are the same damn word. Okay? 77:54, which is call. Sound, voice, noise. Voice, sound, obey, obeyed, voice, voices, listen, thunder, noise, to, cry, cry for mercy, sounds, aloud, proclamation, roar, aloud, thunders, blast, called out, cries, plea. Yeah, son, you don't have a leg to stand on because you don't even understand that that is the same word as voice. It's not saying, oh, it goes out in a line because magically it's a line. No. It's not saying that, son. Alright, two more. Oh yeah, because let's totally go back to Job because everything they said in that book was perfect. Okay, so again, this is Elihu, because he is talking to Job, okay, about God. We're going to start in verse 5. God's voice thunders in marvelous ways. He does great things beyond our understanding. He says to the snow, fall on the earth, and to the rain shower. Be a mighty downpour, so that all men he has made may know his work. He stops every man from his labor. The animals take cover, they remain in their dens. The tempest comes out from its chamber, the cold from the driving winds. The breath of God produces ice, and the broad waters become frozen. He loads the clouds with moisture, he scatters the lightning through them. At his direction they swirl around over the face of the whole earth to do whatever he commands them. He brings the clouds to punish men, or to water his earth and show his love. So what is he talking about there? He's talking about the roar of God's voice. He's talking about God saying what he wants. Okay? And it's not straightened, it's frozen. Okay? That was a mistranslation. Okay? Because he says the breath of God produces ice and the broad waters become frozen. What is he talking about? Do we not see big lakes become frozen in wintertime? I mean, dude, just watch Maine Cabin Masters. the lakes that they go out to in the middle of winter when they're like rebuilding the cabins and they're doing all that stuff, and it's the middle of winter. What's the lake? It's frozen. Isn't that broad waters? That doesn't straighten out. That doesn't mean that it's a flat plain. That doesn't mean that the water is flat miraculously. Oh, gosh. You moron. 136.6. Okay. Okay. This is the His Love Endures Forever psalm. So basically, he says, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever. Give thanks to the God of gods. His love endures forever. Give thanks to the Lord of lords. His love endures forever. To him who alone does not to him who alone does great wonders, his love endures forever. Who by his understanding made the heavens, his love endures forever. Who spread out the earth upon the waters, his love endures forever. Who made the great lights, his love endures forever. The sun to govern the day, his love endures forever. The moon and the stars to govern the night, his love endures forever. To him who struck down the firstborn of Egypt, his love endures forever. Who brought Israel out from among them, his love endures forever. With a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, his love endures forever. To him who divided the Red Sea asunder, his love endures forever. And brought Israel through the midst of it, his love endures forever. But swept Pharaoh and his army into the Red Sea, his love endures forever. To him who led his people through the desert, his love endures forever. Who struck down great kings, his love endures forever. And killed mighty kings, his love endures forever. Sihon, the king of the Amorites, his love endures forever. And Og, the king of Bashan, his love endures forever. And gave their land as an inheritance, his love endures forever. An inheritance to his servant Israel, his love endures forever. To the one who remembered us in our lowest state, his love endures forever. And freed us from our enemies, his love endures forever. And who gives food to every creature, his love endures forever. Give thanks to the God of heaven, his love endures forever. So what are they saying there? Aren't they going back to creation in that one? Who spread out the earth upon the waters? That's the hydroplate theory. Where are the springs of the sea? Where's that water coming from, then? On the springs of the sea. There still has to be water trapped beneath the crust of the earth for that to happen. He spread out the water. He basically made the land come up out of the waters. And he separated the waters from the waters. From waters above, from the waters below. And he created an expanse to separate them, right? And then he caused dry land to appear over the water. To separate water from water. Do we need to read the creation story again to understand this? Because it seems like this guy can't seem to grasp this notion. Okay? Let there be an expanse between the waters to separate the water from water. So God made the expanse to separate the water under the expanse from the water above it. And it was so. God called the expanse sky. There was evening and there was morning the second day. God said, let the water under the sky be gathered to one place and let dry ground appear. And it was so. God called the dry ground land, and the gathered waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and trees on the land, and that bear fruit with seed in it, according to their kinds. And it was so. That's literally the third day of creation, son. The second and third days, what did he do? He stretched out the earth above the waters. Duh. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, drop a comment below, let me know what you think of this series so far, and I hope that the first couple of weeks here of 2024 have been good for you. I know this is like one that's been going on for a while, and like I said, it's going to continue because we have to continue with it, because this guy obviously does not understand what the Bible actually says. Because, yeah, it's not saying that the earth was stretched out like a flat plane. It says it was stretched out. You can stretch things over a sphere too. Okay? So he appears to think that when it says stretched, he means that it's stretched flat like this instead of like being stretched over like that. Because you can do both. Like, I can take my shirt and I can stretch it over this ball, right? But I can also stretch it over this flat plane, correct? Can't I do both? If the answer is yes, then this guy doesn't understand the meaning of the word stretched. Okay? So when we come back, we will do this whole creation worshipers, whatever the hell that means. And as we say, we will see you on the next one.